Okay, so maybe I'm biased, but I think the Cretaceous was the best period of the entire Mesozoic era. I mean, sure, it might have ended with one of the largest mass extinctions in Earth history, but before that, it had everything. Well, because the Cretaceous is divided into two ages, the earlier Cretaceous and the late Cretaceous. And I want to talk about this transition, this shift from the earlier Cretaceous to the late Cretaceous. Because although the Cretaceous was home to some of the greatest dinosaurs that ever lived, including Tyrannosaurus rex, it was also the age in which the dinosaurs would eventually come to an end. According to the geological timescale, the Cretaceous period lasted from 145 million years ago to 66 million years ago, which means that it lasted for 80 million years, which is a really long time. So it makes sense that we would divide it into two halves. The earlier Cretaceous lasts from 145 million years ago to 100 million years ago, and the later Cretaceous lasts from 100 million years ago to 66 million years ago. And according to the fossil record, there was definitely something different going on in these two halves. And iridium is rare on Earth's surface, but is more common in space rocks like asteroids and comets. And if you're real old enough to remember the 90s, you might remember this idea being popularized by the movie Do Look Up. If that sounds big, that's because it is. The tsunami would have also generated tremendous heat and ignited massive wildfires around the world. At the same time, large amounts of sulfur were released into the atmosphere, causing massive volcanic eruptions in places like the Deccan Traps. And it wasn't just the Earth that was hit with all of this either. The moon would have looked like a second sun, as bright as 40 moons full in the sky every night for months after the impact. So while it's important to remember the victims of the event, like the dinosaurs, it's also important to remember the survivors and what they went on to accomplish. This was no small asteroid, and its impact would have caused massive destruction both at the impact site and around the whole planet. Some animals did make it through the mass extinction, including early whales, turtles, crocodiles, birds, and primates. And while the dinosaurs didn't make it, the mammals that did survive were set up for success. With the removal of their reptilian competition, they were able to flourish and diversify, eventually giving rise to the mammals that we know today, including humans. Basically, about 66 million years ago, an asteroid about 6 miles or 10 kilometers in diameter slammed into the Earth near the Yucatan Peninsula, and the impact caused a mass extinction. You've got your classic dinosaurs. You've got iconic prehistoric creatures like Basilosaurus, and you've got ancestors of modern whales, turtles, birds, and humans running around. And as always, if you want to learn more about the amazing history of our planet, stay tuned for more episodes of Paleologic. As the Ice Age progressed, temperatures would have dropped by as much as 36 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius. Plants would have frozen and died, leading to the collapse of food chains worldwide. As animals starved, their populations would have plummeted. Eventually, scientists were able to date the asteroid impact to be around 66 million years ago, which lines up perfectly with when the Cretaceous ended. Scientists were also able to find tektite deposits that are rich in iridium, and they determined that they came from the same asteroid. Not only that, but satellite images revealed a crater that was buried beneath the sediment, a crater that came to be known as the Chicxulub crater. But by the late Cretaceous, there were basically none left. It's the most obvious example, obviously us mammals. Well, the answer again is complicated, but luckily my friends at Brilliant are here to save the day. I'll be honest, without getting into too much detail, the mammals that were around during the Cretaceous didn't look much like modern mammals. They were mostly small protowombats that didn't have much going for them except for the fact that they were warm-blooded. But after the extinction event at the end of the Cretaceous, mammals would diversify and explode in popularity during the next period, the Paleogene. In fact, the last sauropod died out 100 million years ago, right at the KPG boundary, marking the end of the Cretaceous. And there are other examples of major groups of animals that disappeared at this time. The most famous, of course, being the dinosaurs. But also many species of marine reptiles, including ichthyosaurs and mosasaurs. Well, as with many things in geology, the answer is complicated and still debated by scientists today. But luckily for you, my friends at Brilliant are here to help explain some of the basics. In fact, it's during the Cretaceous where we get the first hominids. So why are we talking about such an awesome period today? But what caused this change? What event marked the end of the earlier Cretaceous and the beginning of the final age of dinosaurs? Brilliant is an online learning platform with thousands of lessons in science, computer science, and math, and they've been sponsoring this series on geological time to help you learn more about the amazing history of our planet. Whether you're interested in plate tectonics, volcanoes, or even astrophysics, Brilliant has you covered. They offer interactive courses from foundational and advanced levels, meaning you can start with pretty much no background knowledge and work your way to becoming an expert. Or, if you already know a thing or two, you can skip the basic stuff and jump right into the advanced lessons. This hands-on approach makes learning not only easy, but also fun. I've spent countless hours on Brilliant learning new things and expanding my body of knowledge. So let us talk about this transition from the earlier Cretaceous to the late Cretaceous, because like I said, the answer is complicated. For example, in the earlier Cretaceous, there were a lot of sauropods, the long-necked plant-eating dinosaurs that were really common during the Jurassic. And while all those groups disappeared at the end of the Cretaceous, there were also new groups of animals that showed up. So now you're probably wondering, what caused such drastic changes in the fossil record? What caused this mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous? The main evidence for what killed off the dinosaurs comes from a thin layer of rock that's found all over the world, and is rich in the element iridium. This impact theory was actually proposed shortly after the discovery of the iridium layer, but it took a long time to gather enough evidence to prove it. Today, the crater is located partially underwater in the Yucatan Peninsula, and it's around 110 miles, 180 kilometers in diameter, and 120 miles, or 200 kilometers wide. In fact, recent studies show that the waves generated by the asteroid impact would have circled the globe 3 times, causing massive flooding and destroying coastal habitats. Not only that, but the dust from all of these events would have blocked out the sun and caused a global ice age. And while all of this was happening, the asteroid impact would have thrown huge amounts of debris into the atmosphere, breaking down in the process and releasing even more sulfur into the air. It's a wonder that anything survived this event, but there were survivors. So while the Cretaceous-Pelagian event was devastating, it was also necessary for the rise of mammals and ultimately our species. So thank you for coming on this journey through time with me. Thanks again to Brilliant for sponsoring this episode.